All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course. Unpause and then repause as usual. Today, I will be making some food later, so I don't know how long the live stream will be. It's a little bit disjointed because there's so much news to actually cover. Again, I'm not going to be able to cover it all. This tends to happen on Mondays. Like on Sunday, it's like, 5 articles maybe that are actually worth possibly talking about. But then I don't live stream on Sundays. So sometimes it gets held over. Monday, therefore, is definitely the disheveled day when it comes to content creation. I'm like Garfield. I hate Mondays. I don't actually hate them. It's just. Last beacon. Also, hey Sticks, ping us. You get your one ping us of the day without paying. Yeah, so we actually have quite a bit of news to talk about, and also Thanksgiving pre-prep begins today. I would like to take a glorious, make a glorious announcement. The other day, I was right about every football game that I speculated on, and my dad was sad because the Cowboys won and the Colts lost, so I was happy about this. He thought the Colts would win and the Cowboys would lose. Ha ha. He also predicted that the Patriots would lose early on in the game because the Bengals were so far ahead. He was like, I don't know if they're going to make it. They ended up winning in the end. I told him, don't worry. They'll rally. And I don't even care about football. But I was 4 for 4 on the ones that I guessed. Selene333, you see that Eric Swalwell wants voting by phone to be a thing? Totally wouldn't be abused day one. Yeah, it's a great idea when people can buy multiple phones. That's a great idea. But Eric Swalwell, basically anything, he's like Paul Krugman. Anything that Swalwell or Krugman says, assume the opposite is actually what should be done or what will be done. Like Krugman with the fax machine and the internet back in the day. That one went over really, really well. Oh, the copium level of huffing on that one. That dude's high as balls on the copium. Oh, I didn't really mean it. It was just as a joke. Yeah, okay, dude. Copium poppies. Creamed candy corn. I kill you. I kill you. I suplex you. Oh, God. You're just trying to make me vomit up any Thanksgiving food that I happen to eat. Flowers in her hair. He probably got the idea from Fang Fang. That's entirely possible. Is she still unincarcerated? Like, is she still in the country? Is he still banging the Chi-Com? Which is quite literally what she is. Is he still banging her? Yeah, Swalwell, you'll remember him as the dude who farted on a live stream at one point and tried to play off as though it wasn't and it was just a squeaky chair. Like, I've got my own squeaky chair problems. Sometimes people think when the rubber hits the side here, that's actually me farting. But Swalwell did fart. He doesn't have that excuse. He was not at a leather office chair at the time. But yeah, he's probably still banging her. He probably goes to China and gets his dick wet. Either that or he realized too late that she wasn't really in it for him, because who would be? The gayest man in the world wouldn't want to date Eric Swalwell. So probably she was just extracting information. She goes back to Mother China and then calls it a day. I bet she got a lot of money for having to deal with him. Can you imagine the smell? Copium poppies. Don't let your candy corn go to waste. You can incorporate it into Thanksgiving dinner. Creamed candy corn. Yeah, if you really want to cause a genocide to happen, then you just offer your guests a turkey stuffed with candy corn. Sigil votes by cum shots and Fang Fang. Yeah, well, I guess Eric Swalwell gets hundreds of shots. Although, you never know. He might not be able to get it up. He might be into other stuff. Maybe he just wanted to get pooped on or something like that. With Eric Swalwell, considering his particular behavior, I wouldn't really put it past him. He's probably into weird shit. Wagner PF. Sticks, where can I get a hat like that? Just look up Tricorn hat on Amazon, eBay, any similar site. They're available from multiple sources. Rabbit that says, ew. Yeah, imagine Eric Swalwell's small penis. Yummy. I'm sure that someone would really want to go down on him without getting paid to do so. Skippy, be nice, Sticks. You're into weird shit too. I'm pretty vanilla, actually, for the most part. I'm definitely not into whatever, that dude is into. Eric Swalwell. He's probably the sort of person who literally eats poop and stuff like that. He probably likes candy corn. He's a heretic. Anyways, we'll look at the news here. Federal judge, this is actually fairly breaking. Federal judge dismisses James Comey and Letitia James indictments. This is a huge blow to the Trump administration. It's also an example of obvious judicial activism. Judge Cameron Curie found that Lindsay Halligan could not charge James Comey and Letitia James because she was an invalid U.S. attorney. Yeah, so in other words, being an interim attorney, apparently that invalidates everything that you do. Normally, when you're in an interim position, it's understood that the task is basically filling in and doing the same job as the person that came before you. In this particular case, though, the federal judge has decided completely arbitrarily, without, I believe, even citing case law, I'm going to read more into it as we're live here, has decided, no, the fact that you're an interim, attorney, but you're not actually allowed to do anything. Well, then what the hell is the interim position for? You can't prosecute someone, you can't file motions, you can't do anything? Well, then why does the position actually exist? It's not entirely clear. Curie, a Clinton appointee, why am I not surprised, based in South Carolina, was brought in from out of state to preside over proceedings about the question of Halligan's authority because it presented a conflict for the Virginia judges. Comey's and James' challenges to Halligan's appointment were consolidated because of their similarity. So this was dismissed without prejudice. That means the case can actually move forward, and I hope that they move forward with both cases. But this is a delaying tactic. Come on. Do you think that I was fucking born yesterday, that I don't understand what's going on here? With people out there that don't have any familiarity with the justice system, so-called, and it is so-called, it is mastodonically slow, it is legendarily corrupt, it does not make sense, there is no justice in it, and all of these people, both prosecutorial and defense, pal around with one another for the most part. Unless they're like a legal pariah or something like that, in which case I guess they don't get invited to the donuts after they celebrate the fact that their own client was jailed or something like that. This is nuts. It makes absolutely no sense. It's purely on procedural grounds. It's an arbitrary decision. The judge that made the decision isn't even from the same goddamn state. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? How can this is, I mean, it's not legal, but they're going to overlook it, and the Republicans are too ballless to do anything about it. So now they have to find a different attorney to prosecute them, refile the cases, and probably end up before the same federal judge who will figure out another way to exonerate Letitia James, who purely committed fraud, and James Comey, who purely committed treason. Yeah. This has happened over and over and over again, by the way. The federal court system is so corrupt, it is almost incalculable. What we should do is remove every single judge in the United States from top to bottom and replace every single one of them. We should replace all law enforcement with elected sheriffs, by the way, as well, at the same time. Copium poppies. If you're vanilla, then eat candy corn. Candy corn is vanilla flavored. No, it's shit flavored. It's bullshit flavored. I'm never eating candy corn again. I don't care how much you pay me. You give me a $500 tip, I'm still not eating the candy corn. I'll take the money, though, Just the way that I roll. I'm a baller. Yeah, Swalwell is nuts. And he's also a shitposter. I mean, he's been reduced to that. He's basically like nothing more than a Krasenstein brother that's held office at one point. What a great career goal. Hey, Mom, are you proud of me? I'm the politically elected version of Brian Krasenstein. Doug, what does it taste like? You mean candy corn? It tastes like shit to me. All it is like a weird waxy sugar, basically. That's all it is, with different colors in it to make it look like they did something else to it. About the only good thing about candy corn is you can take the yellow segments and you can put it in your mouth and pretend that they're teeth, I guess. Sigilstone, not perp walking judges, is going so well. Maybe Trump just needs to call Americans dumb fucks again and import another billion third worlders. You are extremely black-pilled, my friend, but I still like you. You can't really perp walk the judge because the decision is not itself illegal. It's just retarded, and it makes no sense. Although it would be funny, I will admit. Copium Poppies. So, I'm hooked on Guar. They were one of my musical to-do list. Listened to Scumdogs of the Universe yesterday, yeah, and watched various interviews and live clips. Guar is the shit. Creamed candy corn. Stop talking about candy corn. Yeah, look up Guar on Wally George. Also Radio Werewolf on Wally George. They were there twice. That was a funny, funny show. Look at the audience. Tell me that dysgenics is not real. And that inbreeding does not exist in certain parts of the United States. You'll see it for yourself. Look up Wally George, Radio Werewolf, Wally George, Guar. Oh, really, anything Wally George related. Pure 80s. In the best and worst of ways. Copium. No, candy corn is vanilla flavored. I do not detect any vanilla in the candy corn. Let's get to our sponsors before we talk about the rest, because that's really the only hard-hitting news story that really fell today was this stupid judicial decision with Letitia James and James Comey. When I first saw it, I was passing by the TV. I was just, on my way out to take some fresh air. Comes on the TV and this is on. I'm like, come on, seriously. At what point are you going to at least give the American people credit for having even a room temperature IQ? You must think that everyone is riding the short bus if you expect us to take your particular position here seriously. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is meaningless in every possible way that you could possibly describe. This is even worse than that gun control decision where that judge said, yeah, it's okay to ban assault weapons. I'm not going to state any actual case law or anything like that or have any legal backing whatsoever. But yeah, it's perfectly fine if the government wants to disarm you. Yeah, that whole Second Amendment bullshit, it doesn't really matter. Spider Eternal. You won't eat candy corn, but will you eat candied corn? If it's actual corn and it's been fried in some sweet sauce or something, I'd try it. I don't really like sweet foods, but yeah, I'd try it. At the very least, it's real corn. Sigil, I'm not black-pilled. I just really don't like it when some rich cocksucker calls me and mine a bunch of retards and then imports entire populations of sub-80 IQs. Well, that's not what Trump is doing. He did not call you a retard. That was Hillary Clinton, actually. And to an extent, Kamala Harris, I suppose. No. He didn't insinuate that the American people weren't capable of taking those jobs. He's just recognizing something. Let me explain. Trump, if he has one glaring weakness, it's that sometimes he's not quite there with explaining himself. What he meant is easily analyzed. I'll tell you exactly what he meant. What he meant is that there aren't enough people in the United States seeking those positions that are qualified for them and can actually get them, and so compensation has been made. A lot of Americans, and I don't really blame them, don't want to be teachers, for example. So there's a teacher shortage. And the teachers that are there, which are mainly born in the United States, many of them are paid to do butt-fuck nothing because of teachers' unions. This is another separate issue that, unfortunately, he has not yet addressed. Not that the courts would let him, so there's really nothing that he can do about it at this time. It's a really sad situation. Judiciary activism is preventing all the good ideas. But if there's a bad idea, they let it through immediately. This has been happening for decades, by the way. By the way, it comes from both the Republicans and the Democrats. Copium poppies. You should seriously try finely chopped up candy corn and vanilla ice cream. Again, I kill you. I suplex you. You are jabroni. Iron Sheik, one of the greatest people of all time, by the way. Don't be a jabroni. Do not touch candy corn. Take it and burn it. Actually, because it's so high in sugar, it probably would burn fairly well. I wonder if you'd made like a candy corn bonfire and just immolated the whole stack of it. That could be fun. I know people like Tickle Me Elmo and Furbies on fire and stuff. By the way, those videos are great. Let's get to our sponsors, though, before we get to the rest of the Bantz in the news. Because this is going to be a little bit of a rant stream. I've got to make squishy squash and cranberry sauce later, because I'm really good at making both of them. So I'm helping out with the Thanksgiving dinner. We're having it early, so we're going to be eating it tomorrow. And we're pre-preparing some of the foods today, so I've got that responsibility. I do make a very good roasted butternut squash. Yes, it has, plenty of seasoning. It's not going to be New England bland style. Plenty of maple. Lots of nutmeg and cinnamon. And of course, a little bit of salt. You got to bring out the flavor. Some people don't salt it, and that's why it's more bland. And then it's sort of like, baby mush or something like that. You got to season it properly. And then with the cranberries, I keep them tart. There's going to be zest. There's going to be plenty of orange juice. I don't add any additional sugar. And again, just a little bit of salt to bring the flavor out. It's technically optional with a cranberry sauce, but it's just going to taste better. Just trust me on that. I've made it several times. I've never had any complaints. So yeah, let's get to the sponsors before we get to the hors d'oeuvres. I wish I had some in front of me, but I mean, considering the amount of food that's out there, even if I literally wiped everything off of this table, I don't think that it would all fit. My uncle's coming over, my sister and niece are coming over. It's going to be crowded house. Yeah, don't dream it's over. First and foremost, we have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills, and also doggo dose. That's what I call it. Technically, it's doggy dose. Mushroom pills, yes indeed, for longevity, vitality, and many other purposes as well. It works. I can attest to the fact that it is neuroregenerative. That is, that this can literally, apparently, repair damaged neurons in your brain and the rest of your nervous system. I never figured that that was possible. But it actually works. I've been taking them for months, and I do notice a difference. Let's put it that way. I'm a little bit more high energy these days. There's a reason for that. Happens to be because of their mushroom pills. And the doggos, they really like the well, not pills, but the doggo treats as well. Still got some in the bag. Still got to make that video where I go down the street and randomly record people's dogs and their reaction to it. I have a feeling it'll get glowing reviews. Then we have BiltonUSA.com. Yes, BiltonUSA.com. Anton has imports. He has meats. He has Stick, Sex, and Hammer mugs, tumblers, and shirts available as well. While he's mainly known for his meats, I find this Bovrite particularly invaluable. Vegemite's good too, and it's also hilarious because people have very mixed opinions about the edibility of Vegemite. Personally, I'm Team Vegemite. I agree with the Australians, which means that I should go to Upside Down Land at some point and have a Vegemite sandwich from some gypsy, in a hippie van. According to the song, of course, Land Down Under. He also has meat, though. Angus, Cabanassi, those are like stick versions. So those are more for on the go. And then there's shredded versions, too. So you got like Wagyu. You've also got shredded Angus, I believe, among other things. Some of it's spicy, some of it's just the meat. And it's really, really great in a soup. And then finally, we have jamandbean.com. Yes, we have jamnbean.com. Anchor Coffee. The most perfect coffee, by the way, that you will ever drink. This is not gas station coffee. This is not the kind that you get at the car lot when waiting to get bilked by some car salesman or something. It's actually nice and smooth. There's almost no acidity, but it's got the darkness of the roast. So I would say that's the perfect medium coffee that I've ever had in my life, actually. And it's not just because it's my own brand, because I like their other coffees too. I'm just partial to the one that happens to have the spoon on the front. I wonder why. Also, plenty of teas available too. It's like a tea shop as well. So yeah, let's talk about the news and other things. Sigil, when you take those words by themselves, sure, when your reading is correct. But combine it with his let's bring in 600 million Chinese students and it invokes ire. Well, I mean, that's a student visa though. That's not bringing people into the country, that's getting money from them because they're studying in the country. They're paying money to do that. I have no problem with this. I don't care if people want to study in the United States, more power to them. Doesn't automatically make them a citizen. If they decide to stay, then it's going to take years and years and years. They'll have conditional residency, then they'll get permanent residency, then finally they become a citizen. It's a very, very long time. People who don't have any, people who don't have training in the immigration process don't understand this. It takes a long time. Time like 4 or 5 years, minimum. Copium Poppies. Didn't you just make a video about picky eaters? Seriously, try chopped up candy corn mixed with vanilla ice cream. I'm not even fucking with you on that one. Yeah, no. I am anything but a picky eater. Mexican Trumper. I am traveling through the Yucatan looking for Ralph. It's funny. I would love to visit the Yucatan Peninsula. Down in Mexico, of course. I want to go fishing for Humboldt squid or something like that. I'm assuming that the fishing regulations in Mexico are probably less than in the United States, where you have to have like a license for your license to license fishing and stuff like that. I'm assuming you can pretty much just rent a trawler and go out and catch some squid. I'd love to grab one because I love calamari. That would be fun. Of course, since the squid can get 12 feet long, when you haul it on the deck, you might want to stand back for a while it asphyxiates, I suppose. Did you ever see that video? There was a video that they released, I think it was on Monster Quest or something, and they were talking about giant squid. And they had like a 10-foot Humboldt squid. It was dead. And they had it on a fishing line, and then this other squid leers up out of the water into the camera shot, and it had to have been at least 100 feet long. Minimum. Probably a lot longer than that. It might have been 200. And it just takes this 10-foot squid and just like chops its head off and goes back down into the water. That was a very, very interesting episode. There are actually giant squid out there. They tend to gravitate towards that area. And even the Humboldt squid, divers have been attacked by them too. Concentrated juice. Why would you hate Mexicans? I don't hate any group of people in the entire world. I only hate individuals. That's the only way I can generate hate or care at all. If a person is an asshole, then I don't like them. If a person is fundamentally good, or at least trying to be good, then I generally like them. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter what color they are or anything else. Sigil Stone. Their long-term residency doesn't matter. What does matter is there's only so many university slots, and a huge amount of them are being taken by Chinese. Chinese that are training to invade us, by the way. Not all of them are. Some of them are trying to flee communism. So, again, it's an individualistic basis sort of thing. Some people come here from China specifically to get away from China. And not exactly loyalists to the CCP. If Trump wants Americans trained for talents, then we need those university spots for our people, not the Chinese. Yeah, but again, if you've got certain, training programs or slots that are not being taken up by Americans, they're going to be left empty because nobody wants the slot. Well, if somebody else from a foreign country wants the slot and they want to pay our country money to get it, I don't see the problem. Believe it or not, most Chinese that I've ever encountered, they're not actually interested in communism. Most of them actually hate it, which tends to happen when you're under a communistic system. Look at the Polish or the Hungarians, people that were behind the Iron Curtain. Only a generation ago, they were all being run by communism. They grew to hate it. They're among the most pro-American factions and most populistic groups in the entire world. The same fate will eventually befall China. This is one of the reasons why I've called them a paper tiger. I do not believe that China is capable of stabilizing. They've made too many mistakes. They've been purging their leadership lately. You look at what Xi Jinping did. He was purging military generals, members of the Politburo, so to speak, the inner circle. He's been doing that actively for quite some time. It looks like he's losing control of the situation. He's not made any significant inroads into liberalizing the country. The people that come after him, of course, they're not going to liberalize at all. That'll lock him down even further. This is why I said that China would probably collapse in the next 20 years. I believe that my prediction will come true. By the way, this will be painful for the Western world because China is a huge exporting muscle. Bobby Bobinson, a lot of Chinese dislike America and think America's behind COVID. The latter is true, but no Chinese person ever backstabbed me. And that's never happened. I've been criticized online by them, but I get criticized by everyone, so it doesn't really make a difference. So communism will fail in China, as it fails literally everywhere. When that happens, the repercussions worldwide are going to be monumental, actually. Let's get to some more news. Yeah, so they dismissed the Comey and James indictments. That makes no sense. It's fucking retarded. Trump splits with Republicans and embraces, keep in mind, unloaded language, embraces communist Mamdani. This was very, very funny. Yes, Trump met with Mamdani the other day. Naturally, the mayor of the largest city in the country and one of the largest cities in the world, probably you invite them for a meeting and you try to have a meeting of the minds. This is not embracing communism, although some people on the left are trying to convince people on the right that Donald Trump has now converted to socialism. This is hysterical to me. And some people are actually taken in by it. That's even funnier. But they're beyond midwit status at that point. They're just, you're riding the short bus if you actually believe that. Meeting with Mamdani was a way of trying to create some sort of rapprochement so that you can exert some sort of influence. Nothing more. It was very clear from the body language, the words that were exchanged, what we saw publicly anyway, and so forth. Trump was effectively saying, look, I'm in charge. I accept that you won an election, but you're going to have to play nice. So yeah, let's pal around, have some McDonald's here and stuff like that. That was basically the only thing that we saw. But they're reading into it that Donald Trump has converted to socialism or that Mamdani is now elevating fascism or something like that. Again, it's that stupid football team mentality that people tend to have because it's biologically ingrained into them, that they believe that effectively, anytime you have any sort of adversarial confrontation between two individuals or groups, you are compelled to take a side, or at the very least, ideologically align with that side. And Trump has just shown, and under normal circumstances, the liberal legacy media would say, oh, he's willing to meet with the self-professed socialist. Okay, well, that's good. That's a wonderful thing. Instead, they're trying to start trouble, where trouble does not exist. Mamdani, it came out almost immediately and said, well, I still think he's a fascist and stuff like that, but, we had a good meeting. It was productive. Well, that's the point. You don't have to agree with one another, but you're going to have to work together because you're both in politics, asshole. But a lot of people don't seem to understand that. They think that if a person disagrees with you, you shouldn't work with them at all. Never any dialogue, no negotiation, just hardlining it. This is not a pragmatic approach, and it's not how you get your way. The way you get your way is through finesse. You cannot just be like a brutal frontline centurion or something like that and just ram through things like a tank. That's probably not going to work. What you need to be is more of a fencer than anything else. Ogre Battle reference, by the way, never mind. But yeah, Mamdani is a commie, but pretending that he's not the one that was elected and isn't going to be the one in office is not going to help anyone. You're going to have to try to corral him. Hochul can go so far. Stefanik may get in there. She'll probably go further. But you have to have the White House tamping down on Mamdani's, bullshit. Otherwise, New York City, which is Trump's home, is going to suffer. I have a feeling he has more of a vested interest in this particular case than he would if it was in Chicago or Los Angeles or something. He probably couldn't give a shit. But this is in New York City. Trump considers this his turf more than anything else. He considers it his city. So naturally, he's going to go in and try to corral Mamdani. He'll probably be successful, by the way. Sigilstone, not all Chinese. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. It's enough of them that are. Again, you really need to study the Ni Hao incident from World War II. Hell, look at Dinesh D'Souza over Tyler Oliveira. I've seen that, yes. I understand that China is massively invading the Western world through various psychological operations, intel operations, corporate, they're trying to take over corporations. They just took over, actually, a chip manufacturer in the Netherlands. They had been trying to kick the Chinese out of the company, and then they decided to double back and say, oh, no, okay, China can continue to rule it. I can't remember, it started with an E, I can't remember the name of the company. But, and I oppose that. I think that people should seize assets from the Chinese government whenever possible because China has clearly been abusive. That being said, I don't really care if Chinese students come into the country because most of them are just going to leave anyway. The ones that don't want to leave are the ones that you probably want in the country generally. And the ones that are spying or something like that and trying to stay in the country, my hope is that there's some sort of methodology by which we can discover that plot. I mean, if the government was actually working properly, we probably could do that 99% of the time. But, fang, fang, bang, bang. Happens all the time. Mexican Trumper. Mamdani is a millionaire, the son of commie academics and Hollywood perverts. Absolutely true, by the way. Yes, Mamdani pretends to be a man of the working class. But you're not from the working class. Your parents are worth what? Fucking millions of dollars. You're worth like $100 million. You don't know what it's like to be poor. To scrounge cigarette butts off the asphalt, hoping that it's not a rainy day. To survive on Spam or Vienna sausages or something like that. He wants people to, though. He wants to create vast amounts of poverty in order to make more people have to do that sort of stupid shit. Concentrated juice. Then why even come in if they'll just leave? Why waste resources letting them in? Well, the thing is, they're actually paying for their education. They're not generally eligible for most forms of aid. Some, but not most forms. And so they're actually adding money to the economy by being here. Also, they're buying things. Obviously, the average person needs food and other supplies. So they're buying things while they're in the country, getting a good education, and most of them go back to China. Some of them go to other countries, and some of them stay. The ones that stay are typically the ones that aren't really welcome back in China. There's probably a reason for that. Then you get a handful of spies. We can deal with them separately. It doesn't require that we keep every Chinese person from coming into the United States. What is this, 1835? Sigil, or we can avoid becoming a surveillance state and just not bring in any students from a country known for spying, thieving, and subversion. Just a thought. Do we want their money or less government? Workarounds exist. Chinese person goes, gets German citizenship. Now they're German, according to U.S. government law. Now they come as a student, but they're spying. What's the difference, dude? There's no way to stop them from doing their spying thing except to have rigorous controls in the areas that count. As far as simply getting a liberal arts degree, it's not going to be meaningful. Mom, Donnie the commie. CCP all day, says Based Acid Fox. I don't support communist China, just to be clear. Not interested. Tarred and feathered. It's okay to educate Chinese students because they're so much smarter than Americans. This is that same black-pilled line that some people have been led to by the far left, and they don't even understand that it's a psychological operation to try to get them to believe that. Donald Trump did not call Americans stupid. He simply pointed out correctly that there are shortages within certain kinds of jobs that can't immediately be taken care of because there aren't enough people training for them. So, if people from foreign shores are training for them, it kind of makes sense now, doesn't it? Otherwise, you end up with shortages in certain particularly critical jobs that are indispensable to the country. I would love to have a situation where we reoriented our economy and our teaching system so it was much more free market, less of this regulatory bullshit, all that stuff, and Americans could simply take up all the jobs themselves. We wouldn't need to bring in anyone from any other country for any reason unless they were investing directly in the economy at a big level, or they were like some imminent, mathematic genius or something like that. That'd be a perfect system, but it's not the system that we currently have. We have to compensate temporarily. We have no choice. I mean, unless you want the economy to collapse, and, well, that would be, decent, because it should be reformatted. No administration is actually going to do that. No administration can be asked to commit political suicide in order to achieve what we would need to do to reset the system in the hard way. What we have right now is a soft reset. Sigil sticks. The going back to China part is the problem. Why aren't we educating our enemies and how to defeat us, especially at our leftist extremist universities? I don't think that learning basic math is really trying to prepare someone to destroy you, but yeah. I have a difference of opinion with apparently a large segment of my audience on this particular point. I like Chinese food. What can I say? Copium poppies. Yeah, we should embargo China. Deport Chinese citizens and all commies. I do believe in deporting anyone who is a professed communist, citizen or otherwise, and seize land owned by Chinese companies and citizens. We already have a problem with commies running academia. I would agree with deporting anyone that professes communism. And yes, that would extend to U.S. citizens. We'll put you in Puerto Rico. See, there you don't have access to having any senators or representatives because it's U.S. territory, but it's not a state. Put all the commies there in Puerto Rico or something like that, or Guam. That way they no longer have, strictly speaking, a vote at all. I like this idea. That sounds like fun. Sigil. I do not give a fuck if they spend money. I do not care about the fucking GDP. I'm sick of our country. I'm sick of this phony baloney. The GDP can go fuck itself. Yeah, let's take all the commies and, put them in a U.S. territory where, they can vote, but their vote doesn't matter. I think I'm a moderate on this issue. I think that sounds reasonable. Semi-joking. We'll get to some more news, by the way. Oh, yes, we got the U.S. jobs report, actually. And it actually came in surging. It came in much higher than expected. But that was for September. So we don't have, I believe, October data. So there was a rebound in September. August was lower, and in July as well. It was up before. And again, I don't think that we have actual data for the current month. We don't have anything for November, certainly, but for October. But it turns out it was better than expected. And unemployment did rise by 0.1, but this is absolutely meaningless because it's still historically low. We're very, very close to historic lows in unemployment at the moment. Part of this is part of the reason why unemployment rose very marginally is that the economy has improved enough so that some people no longer feel compelled to have a second job. Or they don't feel compelled to be, the fifth person in the family that has to work 70 hours a week just to buy eggs or something like that. Tarred and feathered, Styx is hard left on the issue. China? No, I'm hoping that China collapses, actually. I am definitely... Are you really proclaiming me to be a xenophobe? Good luck. And I'll show people 20 or 30 videos where you're proven wrong. I am not a fan of China. They spy on others, they bully others, including people in their own backyard. They're constantly trying to take over Taiwan. If they thought they could do it today, they'd be invading right now. That being said, I don't think that random Chinese students that mainly leave the country after paying us a shit ton of money, I don't think that they're a terrible threat. Now, within medicine, that's a different story. We have now had at least 3 different occasions in which Chinese medical students were trying to bring pathogens into the United States. This is obviously unacceptable. So maybe medical school and military academy and things that are particularly important to our infrastructure and shit, those should be off limits. But if you're coming here for a liberal studies degree and you're learning how to read English, do math, I learned biology today, I learned how to grow okra, I don't think that that's a threat to our national security. It's really a difference between the kind of things that are being studied and the actions of the individual. Copium, nah, that's still U.S. land and they can come back to the mainland. If they remain in U.S.-owned land, they should be locked up and forced to break rocks for bread and water. I mean, that works too. If the leftoids want the gulags, let's give it to them. Hey, I mean, you could do worse. FDR locked up a bunch of people for their ethnic backgrounds. If Donald Trump today were to create a bunch of work camps, which concentration camps, like FDR did, and say, well, everyone of Chinese origin has to go to one of these camps because, you're not loyal, it would be so funny if he prefaced that exactly as FDR arranged it when he was doing the same thing to Japanese Americans. And you can say, look, I'm allowed to put you in camps. We're like at war with your country and shit. That'd be pretty funny. But unlike with FDR, who packed the courts to protect himself, the courts would probably stop him from doing so. Sigil, we're not saying you're a Sinophile. We're saying you have a massive blind spot to ethnic loyalties among diaspora. It's very far left to think there isn't any. Oh, I don't think that. I'm quite aware of that. Trust me. We can only speak so much about it on a YouTube live stream, but I am aware that different ethnic groups have a tendency towards insularism. It doesn't matter what group that is. And it doesn't have to be racial, it can be sub-ethnic as well. Or religious in nature in some cases. I'm well aware of that. Don't worry. Believe it or not, your own favorite Styx is not retarded. That article is completely irrelevant. That was days old to begin with, so I'm not going to bother covering that one. Oh yeah, this is something that gives me hope within the administration, by the way. Vance, the American people don't want stupid wars. That was the Republican Party before Trump. Trump and Vance are curb-stomping their own political party at this point for their past indiscretions. With the death of Dick Cheney, McConnell retiring, and many others gone. For instance, Mitt Romney is not seeking re-election. The old guard of the Republican Party is crashing and burning completely. They're effectively a non-entity at this point. They're the ultimate lame duck. And it's glorious, by the way, to see. The new Republican Party is more geared towards actual populism. And by the way, you may have noticed this. Populism is generally a right-wing conceptualization. Because in order to actually have the people be able to take care of themselves and be independent and so forth under a populist system, you cannot have anything other than a fairly free market economy. You have to have free trade and a free market. So there's no such thing as a left-wing populism. But the left has grasped onto the term. They're trying to claim that Mamdani is a populist. Of all things, there was an article just the other day where instead of calling him what he literally professes himself to be, which is a fucking socialist, just a democratic socialist, of course, they call him a populist. There's no such thing as left-wing populism. It's impossible. Because left-wing economics cannot uplift the working-class population. It has been tried 1,000 million times, and it never works. The only thing in human history that has ever uplifted the so-called lower classes, the working class, the poor, and so forth, is capitalism. It is the only system that works. Socialism is not capable of compensating for them. It can keep the poor on life support, but they're still poor. It can keep the working class in socks. What a great advantage. You feel massively advantaged over the poor, by the way, because, the welfare breadcrumbs didn't give them socks, so they're all barefoot and wandering around, but at the very least, at the end of the day, they get a piece of bread. This is what socialism promises you. Capitalism promises you the idea that at the very least, if you try, you've got a chance to succeed and uplift yourself. You have to climb the ladder yourself, though. Government's never going to be there to boost you. Socialism promises that the government will be there to put its hands on your ass and shove you up a couple rungs on that ladder. But it never does. It'll start doing that and it'll just drag you down and throw you on the ground. That's what socialism is. It does not work. I found it so funny when they were trying to claim that Mamdani was populistic. Now, the only populism is the sloganeered, branded, public face populism, which is the disingenuous car salesmanship that you saw in the 1980s from the goddamn right wing, but you're not applying it to Mamdani now, are you? It's nothing more than sloganeering. It's an image. It's nothing more. He's not going to uplift a single goddamn person. And I can guarantee you, New York City is about to fall on very, very hard times. If you think there's going to be some sort of New York City renaissance because Mamdani is there, then you have never studied political history, and you certainly don't understand socialism. Sigil, if you're aware of these loyalties and do not see how training Chinese students in missiles, avionics, and sending them home might be a fucking problem, yeah, no, anything military related and stuff like that, of course, I wouldn't allow foreign students to take those courses. It's not necessary. And also, those courses tend to be filled anyway because, the payoff is enormous. Like, I know one girl that I e-dated many years ago. She's actually in robotics and lives in Germany. It's quite interesting, but she's originally from Turkey. Copium. Video music whoring request. This one just audio, no video. Given the topic of communism, it's relevant. And then there is a link there. Unfortunately, I don't know. Can I could pin the message, but there's no way to actually display it, I guess, on Rumble. I don't know. But yes, there is a video link there over on Rumble. But yeah, Bantz is fundamentally correct, and this speaks to a millennial mindset, by the way. I realize that he's more young Gen X, but one of the things that really pissed me off about the Republican Party back in the day was its constant goddamn warmongering. We got to invade this dictator. We got to take him out over there. Otherwise, we're going to have to fight him over here. Think of the children. The Patriot Act and stuff like that. The Democrats went along with it mainly because they were cowed into doing so. But now it appears, if I'm not mistaken, that the Democratic Party is the party of war. And Trump is saying, hey, you need to calm it down. We're not going to be doing that shit. Very strange. We could talk about the Trump and the plan between Ukraine and Russia, but that's still up in the air. So we're not going to bother to talk about that one because there's nothing to talk about. Talked about the Italian story. Oh, yeah. This was another funny thing. Those Democrats that made the supercut for the video saying, oh, troops must disobey unlawful orders, as though, by the way, they weren't already instructed that unlawful orders were to be disobeyed, because they literally are. Pretending that grandstanding and pretending that you're telling them something that they didn't know, like they're little children or something like that. Now they're all up in arms because Donald Trump said, they should be arrested for sedition. Haha, that'd be funny. Now, Senator Mark Kelly links Trump's death post, a post that had nothing to do with killing anyone, by the way, to Charlie Kirk assassination and warns of violence. Repeats call for troops to reject illegal orders after Trump's sedition post. Why do I feel like Mark Kelly is in the running for trying to replace the now discredited Liz Cheney? Liz Cheney's dad, thankfully, has gone to hell, and she has been misremembered, effectively. Why do I feel like this stupid-ass dude is basically trying to be her replacement? Seems plausible. He's saying about the same things. He's just as hyperbolic. He likes to ham it up before the cameras about the same amount, so I'm not really seeing a difference at the moment, honestly. F1 is loaded. Trump's feud with Rand Paul is getting worse. Not yet at Massey or MTG level, but it's getting worse. Should you address it? I'll have to look into it. What did Trump and or Rand get into now? It's not a surprise. Rand Paul is a maverick, so I can give him credit for being independently minded while disagreeing with some of the things he says. Again, this is the Nuance channel. I didn't see what he said, though. Honestly, Twitter never shows me what he said. I'm following the dude, and I never actually see anything from him. For some reason, it's all a bunch of liberal bullshit. Gives him plenty of news fodder, and I understand that Elon has talked about trying to crack through echo chambers, but I assure you, Elon, I'm not in a right-wing echo chamber, as people here will attest. In some cases, I don't have right-wing views at all. Kitty be good. If you say Rand Paul with Kentucky accent, sounds like you're saying grandpa. Fun fact. Rand Paul? Hey. Yeah, that would sound similar. F100's loaded. Trump called him out on Truth Social several times recently. I think he said something in an interview. I saw part of that. I didn't see, I think, all of it, though. I do like Rand Paul in general. I think that sometimes his idealism gets in the way of pragmatism, and that it becomes unhelpful. It's better to win a battle. It's better to win a little than to win nothing at all. We'll put it that way. You didn't get the turkey at the Thanksgiving dinner, but you managed to swipe the squash. Oh, well, at least you've got something. If you're not pragmatic, you don't even get the squash. Which reminds me, I've still got to cook that later. Gonna be tasty. Will Gooding. Sticks. Really worried about Scamburger coming after my guns here in Virginia. Not good. Well, I mean, clearly you've lost them in a pond or something like that. You don't actually own them. You used to, but they've been destroyed, and or someone stole them or something like that. That's what I'm talking about. Tarred and feathered. Keep the fucking squash. I think you'd like the squash the way that I make it. I make it with maple, actually. And plenty of cinnamon and nutmeg. It's more on the sweet side. It's one of the few sweet foods that I actually eat. When I make the cranberries, though, I make them extra tart. So, if you like sweet foods, you wouldn't like my cranberry sauce. Yeah, your gun should be lost in a nearby body of water. Or something like that. I was laking, I was, boating around on the lake and the gun fell overboard. I can't fucking find it. There's nothing I can do about it. Unless you want to send in a scuba team. It's pretty funny. And that actual legal defense has worked in the past. It actually has. The largest funder of Al-Shabaab is the Minnesota taxpayer. How some of the state's welfare funds ended up in the hands of a terror group. Yes, under Tim Walz especially, TSA in Minnesota paid out millions and millions of dollars to groups directly associated with terrorist organizations. Isn't that lovely, by the way? I'm sure that you're very happy to hear that. Trump has put the kibosh to it and ended the TPS program. I believe it's called TPS. He's scrapped basically everything there. I'm sure that federal courts will tell him that he's not allowed to stop funding terrorists, and it'll be like the funniest thing ever. Liberals won't get it, but those of us that are actually intelligent will understand exactly what the decision means, should that come through. In fact, it might have already come through. You never know. The news moves fast these days. But in Minnesota, they had a housing authority that was giving assistance to people and stuff like that for housing, for food, things of that nature. And it was state funded. Turns out that in many cases, these organizations were massively overinflating the number of people that were actually getting aid from their food kitchens or from their, housing units or whatever the hell they happen to be running. And this happened on dozens of occasions. Massive inflation, like, hey, in reality, we gave out 12 bowls of soup today. But we really gave out 1,200. Here's some other addresses and lists of people. And they were paying them out, and they weren't even checking them. So millions of dollars were funneled to Islamic terrorist groups from Minnesota. It doesn't surprise me. It worries me. It bothers me, but it doesn't surprise me, honestly. From Minnesota, of all places in the entire country, other than maybe the Chicago area and California, I would be surprised, no less. So they were giving money to groups that were directly tied to Al-Shabaab. Now, Al-Shabaab is one of the worst. They're up there with like Boko Haram and ISIS with regards to their brutality. They routinely traffic children. They rape women. They kill people pretty much at a whim if they don't follow Islam. They're an imperialistic group. They're part of what effectively is a semi-disorganized caliph state at this point. Wouldn't it be best to simply not give them money? Because I don't think we should be giving money. If I gave money to Al-Shabaab, let's say that I go through a shell company and I give $1,000 to an Al-Shabaab member, what happens to me? I end up in a goddamn cell. I end up there for the next 10 years. I end up on felony charges. So why is the government doing exactly the same thing? The state government of Minnesota is involved in terrorism at this point. This is loopy. This is, again, another thing that we never could have seen coming, like even 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. Never would have imagined the day when a state in the United States would be so rogue, would be so defiant of federal law, so defiant of basic reality, that it would be actively facilitating the movement of money to a group that was literally trafficking 10-year-olds. I personally don't approve of this. I don't particularly like it when that happens. Normally, we arrest people for such things. Apparently, we're not arresting the government of the state of Minnesota, though. I think that they deserve it at this point. These people are nuts. Yeah, Minnesota is literally awarding money to shell companies. I mean, didn't they look into them at all? Didn't they do any auditing of the people that were supposedly receiving meals? So what would happen is you set up a little food shelf, and 20 people come in or something like that, and you can tell the government, okay, we're doing a humane service here, so we're gonna need that money. But then they kept growing the list. They realized that there was no oversight whatsoever. It did not exist. Oh, if I spend this night just randomly scribbling in people's names and say, these are the people that are eating here, they'll give us lots and lots more money. Because it appears that there's a lot and lot more people that are actually coming in. But the state never bothered to check these businesses, apparently, until recently. I mean, this is completely ridiculous. I'm giving tens of millions of dollars to Al-Shabaab. And other groups, too. I wonder if there's ever any infighting between these Islamo-fascist groups. Like, Al-Shabaab says, okay, this is our neighborhood. Boko Haram is over there. There's the Al-Qaeda neighborhood. ISIS, you go down there. I wonder if that ever happens. Sort of like Mafia Land or something. It probably does. And they're embezzling huge amounts of money because the amount of oversight was so low. This is why, again, I don't trust government. They shouldn't be dispersing the fucking funds in the first place unless they can account for them. Will Gooding, thank God that we have the VCDL here in Virginia. Yeah, Virginia is going to get fucked in the ass, though, by the incoming government, so. Sigil, thank you, Somalis in Minnesota, for providing the perfect explanation why I don't want Chinese students in America. Well, it's a little bit different, but, yeah. I'll grant you that one, I guess. I can imagine, like, you're in the ISIS neighborhood and then, the Al-Qaeda neighborhood declares a gang war or something. It's basically nothing more than religiously based cartels, I suppose, at some point. It's some funny stuff. I mean, it's not funny for the people caught in the crossfire, I'm not saying that, but it's amusing to think that so many people, they don't even understand that this is going on, and when you tell them that it's going on, then they're like, oh, it's not that big a deal or something. No, thousands of trafficked children, that's not a big deal, right? Okay, so when I go Pied Piper mode and I lead all the children in Rutland up into the mountains and kill them all, that's not going to be a big deal. Apparently that's what you're saying. You're nuts. You don't care about the kids, you don't care about maintaining civic order or anything like that. These people are nuts. I'm not going to get to the science article. I'll probably carry that over. There is an update on Maha. I actually made a video this morning. Kirsten Sinema apparently admitting she used ibogaine and now is basically a practitioner of the Make America Healthy Again movement with regards to psychotropics. I thought this was good. The fact that she's sane is probably the reason why the Democrats don't want her in the party anymore. And she'll probably fuck off under the wheels of a bus anyway, politically. She's probably just she's gonna pull a Marjorie Taylor Greene or something. If you're sane, you're not really welcome in Congress these days. Hell, look at John Fetterman, for example. He doesn't have many friends. Will Gooding, Northern Virginia, Nova, is a cancer on the Commonwealth. Anyways, I think I'm going to go offline. I do have to cook some food. I've got a long afternoon ahead of me. That's why I went live at a little bit of a different time. I'm going to try... I've got to wait first for... Mom, she makes bread. She's the baker. If her bread is done, or at the very least, like in the oven, I'll have space to be able to prepare food. I'm making the squash and the cranberry sauce, actually, for Thanksgiving, which we will be celebrating tomorrow. And at any time, my uncle may or may not arrive. We're not 100% sure yet, but probably. Something like that. Bobby Bobbinson, no timestamps again today. Well, it was uneventful because it's uneventful news. What the hell am I supposed to talk about? I do have some stuff on the side, and there will be, of course, more things that come in today. The problem is, coming out of Sunday, it's always really, really difficult. Because you don't get a lot. Because nothing happens over the weekend, other than, football or something like that. And this is not a sports channel. I'm assuming all of the football fans are really happy. I was very happy when I got to gloat to my dad this morning about being 4 out of 4 on my predictions, and he was only 1 out of 4. His hated Cowboys won. The Colts lost. The Pats managed to patch it together. I was very, very happy about this situation. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to go offline now. Oh, Sigil. Sticks don't get a lot, if any. I get plenty. Will Gooding, happy Thanksgiving, Sticks, and beloved Clankers. Yeah, I know. I mean, we got to start preparing the food now because you just got to do it. I really want the best part of Thanksgiving is the stuffing that was inside of the bird mixed with a nice tart cranberry sauce. And some ketchup, by the way. Yes, I will put ketchup on the Thanksgiving meal. It will be on the table. This is heaven, basically, in the culinary sense. So yeah, I'm going to go offline. I'll do a little bit of docketing, maybe. It sort of depends if there's anything in the news cycle. But it's close enough to Thanksgiving that a lot of people have already conked out. So yeah, I will talk to you tomorrow. Probably, unless I end up in a food coma, then I might be passed out because I ate too much jerky. That's about all. Peace out.